Welcome to Down the Right Field Line with Marlins Nation. The Marlins were really active at the trading deadline. Who did they get in return for some key Marlins players? And also, do you think it's a coincidence that Reyes is all of a sudden hitting better now that Hanley's gone? All that and more coming up next. Welcome to Down the Right Field Line with Marlins Nation. For the past couple of months, we've been giving you highlights of every single homestand and road trip. And to be honest, guys, this is just getting exhausting. Ever since the season started, we've had a lot of difficulty, except for the month of May, to put together successful road trips. So for today, we're going to talk overview about the Atlanta Braves series, the National Series, and the Mets series, and then kind of go into certain topics that we're going to be talking about each series. Now, first things first, the trading deadline's come and gone, and the Marlins were really active. Now, back in April, when you were thinking about the trading deadline, you were like, oh, we have some money saved up because we didn't get Pujols. We're going to go out there and get some real guys in the trading deadline, and we'll be able to make a push to the postseason. Not that at all, guys. The Marlins were sellers, and they sold indeed. One of the trades, obviously, we've already talked about Hanley Ramirez going to the Dodgers. Gabby Sanchez gets traded to the Pirates. He's going to be a big asset over there for Gorgeous Hernandez, an outfielder. He has a lot of speed. A lot of speed. This guy has over 50 stolen bases just a few years ago, but has no talent whatsoever with the bat and sort of struggling as an outfielder as well. And then Mojica got traded to the Cardinals for a very promising third base prospect, Zach Cox. Now, Raph, what did you think about these trades? Like I said to our viewers, I mean, this isn't the type of trades you thought we were going to be making back in April.
Definitely not, Rob. First of all, as far as with the Gabby trade, good for him. He's getting an opportunity to play for a contender. I didn't think I would be saying that at this point in the season, but he's going to be playing for a contender now. And, you know, and I'm going to be honest here, the Marlins are, I believe, married to Lomo and pushing that agenda too much, as it looks like Lomo will be the future first baseman of the Marlins once he comes off the DL. And, you know, I know Gabby was struggling this season and he wasn't himself, but the writing was on the wall. It only took a little bit of struggling from Gabby from the second half of last year and the first half of this year, and that's it. And let's be honest, yeah, Lomo has had bright spots here and there, but he's not where he's supposed to be at when he was a prospect. So, you know, that's one of those things that really bother me about the organization, but, you know, that's their decision to make. And as far as the Mojica deal, the guy was solid for us last year, and this year up and down with he had an injury, a broken little pinky toe, something like that. But other than that, the Cardinals got a nice piece for the bullpen. Last year, the Cardinals added to their bullpen and had success, so maybe Mojica will be the Octavio Dotel or Mark Zipchinski of last year for the Cards.
So the Marlins went into Atlanta with the Braves just red hot, and you know they're trying to win a division. They're going up against the Nationals, who are still leading the division, and every game is important over there. And for this series, there was a lot of rain, a lot of bad defense on both sides, and just really bad pitching, starting pitching from the Marlins. And the one bright spot, fortunately for us, was a guy that jumped into the rotation when we traded away Anibal Sanchez to the Tigers. And boy, did he show up in Game 3. He pitched 4 in the 3rd innings, allowing 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts with 71 pitches. Ozzie obviously was going to pull him because he hasn't gone that deep into a game in a while, probably since spring training. So he was on a pitch count. But, you know, this guy was just hitting both sides of the strike zone. He was going out there very aggressive. And that's something you want to see. If you're going to be put into the rotation and a struggling team, you need to be aggressive. You have nothing to lose. It's not like we're going to be fighting for the division anytime soon. Go out there, throw strikes, and that's exactly what he did. And, you know, he's trying to win a job for next year, Raph. Yeah. So what did you think of his performance? And do you think he's going to be able to fit into that rotation very well?
Rob, I completely agree with what you said on you got nothing to lose. We're not going anywhere, so, you know, it's in his best interest to lay it all out on the line, and that's what he did against the Braves. You mentioned there was a limited outing because of rain delay and high pitch count there, but this guy has been great for us so far. In his first start against the Braves, you saw how he was, you know, mixing pitches and going from inside and outside, up and down, and this guy has been just phenomenal. And he's the type of guy that you could see battle for that rotation spot. I mean, unless we sign a free agent starting pitcher, which I don't know. I don't know if I'm convinced of that yet. But hey, and let's be honest, LeBlanc I think was in talks as far as being part of the rotation in the offseason, this past offseason, before acquiring Zambrano and whatnot. So this guy has the talent, and I'd like to see more of him throughout the year, and hopefully he gets to keep that starting role for this season.
Yeah, the good thing about LeBlanc also is that he's a National League pitcher. He went up there in that game, he got a double. You know, he knows how to swing the bat. And that's what you want to see out of pitchers that we're going to be acquiring. Obviously, Ricky, you know, he'll have his fair share of hits. Anibal Sanchez, every once in a while, he'll bloop one in there. JJ's a great hitter. But you want to have National League type pitchers. And in this case, that's what you get. And he's, like we talked about, he went out there trying to win a job, and I think he did that. And his next start would be against the Mets, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later. So the Marlins going to the National Series, down on the road trip, 1-3. They start off the series with the Nationals with a doubleheader. Marlins are able to split that doubleheader, and then they lose the next 2 games. But the story of this game is just missed opportunities. In Game 1 of the series, the Marlins had a chance to come roaring back. They're down 7-3, bases loaded, 1 out. They can't do anything. They don't score any runs. Ruggiano and Peterson strike out back-to-back. And it's one of those things that it just deflates your offense when you can't come through in those situations. Now, fortunately for us, in Game 2 of that game, we were able to come through, but then the rest of the series, it didn't show up again. So it's one of those things that we're always talking about. That we're always fluctuating. Some games our offense shows up, we score 9 runs, we win 9-1. Other games our offense doesn't show up, we get shut out 15-0. Another instance of that was in Game 3 of the series. The Marlins had a lead practically the whole game, and we just kept giving it up. The LaRoche was red hot, hitting home runs all over the place, and then Dunn dropping the ball with 1 out in the 8th, allowing the Nationals to come back, and then having back-to-back home runs by Espinosa and Harper. It was just a terrible game overall, just because we kept taking the lead throughout the game, and then we kept losing the lead. It kind of reminded me of the Brewers series. And in Game 4 of the series, we just had Strasburg just dominate us. But if you take one good thing out of this series, it was JJ's performance in Game 2. He went into the 9th inning, and that's what you want out of your starter in Game 2 of a doubleheader. Going into the 9th inning, ridiculous stuff. This is the JJ of old. And it was one of those things that you kind of saw him a little bit relieved that he wasn't traded at the trading deadline. JJ ended up going 8 2/3, 5 hits, earned run, 9 strikeouts. The only reason why it wasn't a complete game was because Bonnie dove for the last out. He dove, injured his thumb, the one that had surgery, and now it's going to be out on the DL. But he made his attempt, couldn't get it, run scored. They took JJ out of the game because it's a 5-2 game, and he wasn't able to complete the game. Cishek came in, closed out the game. So JJ was really the only bright spot out of this whole national series. It was a complete loss of a series as far as I'm concerned, Rafi. But JJ really came out, and do you think the fact that he didn't get traded kind of re-energized him into thinking, look, I'm going to have to be the ace that, they paid me for?
Definitely. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, he did mention it, that he's glad he wasn't traded. This guy is our ace. I don't care what anybody says, what type of season he's having, whatever the case may be. He's our ace. He's the guy that we rely on to end a losing streak. And that's exactly what he did. And I hope that, I think the organization hopefully sent a message to him saying that he's our guy. Now, granted, the Marlins weren't going to trade him unless they were going to get some high-quality prospects. So, who knows? Had the Rangers offered them Mike Olt, their top third-base prospect, then maybe something different would have happened. But I think for now it sends a message that JJ's here to stay. And I think JJ really gave him a big thank you. Gave the organization a big thank you by pitching such a stellar game. And hopefully he'll have a stellar performance for the rest of the year. And it'll kind of give us an indication on what to expect. And not only that, but he's remained healthy this season. And I think that's huge for JJ.
Yeah, I see your point, Raph. Now, the thing that I'm still having a lot of questions in my mind as far as whether JJ's going to stay with the team. My hope, obviously, is that he does, but with all the injuries, you're not going to be paying a guy $17 million a year if you're scared that he's going to get injured every other day. And that's the way he's been. I mean, if he has a full year healthy, maybe that changes, but the Marlins aren't a team that are going to take that type of a risk. And I'm going to be watching the trading wire this offseason because there's still a chance that he gets traded in the offseason. So what he needs to do is just go out there and pitch, and then see if he can work something out as far as an extension in the offseason. But if not, it's beyond his hands, and he's just going to have to go into that free agent year hoping that we don't trade him and maybe get something worked out. So the Marlins ended up dropping 3 of 4 in the National Series. Now going to the Mets series with a 2-6 road trip. Terrible road trip. And now we're going to face the Mets, in which we haven't had a lot of success in Citi Field. So just trying to win ball games. That's all you got to do. And Reyes has been a big spark plug for the Marlins lately. Coming out of the National Series with a 24-game hitting streak. Career high for him, leading all current hitting streaks with 24. He's just red hot, and it makes you ask the question, is this coming because Ramirez is gone, that he feels like this is his team again? Or is this just coming that he's just seeing the ball better now? And I think it's a combination of both. He is seeing the ball better now. Think about the climate, summer, he's getting warmed up. He had a lot of trouble in New York because it would get cold. Now, he's kind of getting into the swing of things. And remember in the preseason we said, oh, maybe he'll play 140 games. Right now he's playing a lot of games. And that's what you want to see. You're seeing that he's healthy. You're seeing that he's living up to his contract, Rafi. And he's stealing bases. He's really leading this ball club. And now he's batting third. How important is that?
This is huge. A huge pick-me-up, especially with Stanton on the shelf. Reyes, like you mentioned, is it coincidence that he gets hot now that Hanley's gone? And I think I agree with you in that it's a combination of both. Like I mentioned in our last show, Anonymous Marlins would say that Hanley's overall attitude just brought Reyes down with him. And, you know, I think that, you know, even though they're best of friends and whatnot, doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best influence on you. And, you know, when we saw Reyes in New York, you know, he was co-leaders with David Wright. And those two guys, you know, they would play their hearts out. They would be leaders on the field as well as off the field. And so, and I think that now that Hanley's gone, Reyes now can take that step and be that leader again, because there was so much pressure on Hanley to be that leader in Miami, here in Miami. Now that he's gone, I think Reyes gladly steps up and take that role. And they're different players. Reyes is always smiling, always having a good time. No matter what's going on, you rarely see him get upset. And I think that that's what we need for this ball club. And, you know, as far as, you know, hitting the ball better in terms of seeing the ball better, that goes along with the territory. I think that if you feel well, if everything's going great, I think that ball's gonna look like a big grapefruit to you. And like you said, a combination, and I'm happy to see. And maybe it's just me, Rob, but I don't know why. I feel like Reyes is more pumped every time he gets a base hit, steals a bag, scores a run. I mean, this guy is doing it all, and it's just, to me, I feel like there is a difference. There is a major difference now that Hanley is out of the Marlins organization.
Reyes has just seen the ball better. It doesn't affect him that we're losing. He just goes out there swinging at pitches and getting base hits, bunting balls, beating out ground balls, everything. And he's all over the place. He's causing havoc for the opponents, because even a ground ball that you think is an easy out to first, guess what? Reyes scores from second base just like he did in the National Series. So a guy like Reyes, the reason he's our first $100 million guy is because of that. He's a game changer. And Samson said that when he signed him. And I really hope that we start building around Reyes and Stanton long term. That way we can continue to have success once all these pieces that we're acquiring come together and start working. So going into the Mets series, the Marlins were just trying to, you know, get the pitching put together after trading away all of our pitching, trying to put together some sort of a rotation. And again, we talked about LeBlanc earlier in the show. LeBlanc again coming up big. And in game 1 of the Mets series, he's only able to go 4 innings just because of the fact that he hasn't been stretched out completely yet. But in those 4 innings, he was dominating. And right now his ERA is 1.5. Looking forward to a lot of good stuff from LeBlanc. And, you know, in game 2, just the offense went nuts. Giancarlo Stanton, full coming out. In game 1, his offense wasn't there. He had an 0-for. But in game 2, 2 home runs, both blasts. Reyes homered to extend his hitting streak to 26 games. And unfortunately, that's all it was. In game 3, they broke the hitting streak, and it ended at 26 games. Kudos to Reyes for putting that together, and hopefully he continues hitting. Evaldi started game 2, and you're still seeing he's not fully put together yet. I really think they should just send him back to the minors, get his stuff put together. He had 6 walks in this game, not something you want to see. And then in game 3, the Marlins were practically shut out as far as offense goes, as R.A. Dickey just putting and adding stuff to his what could be Cy Young year, striking out 10 Marlins a complete game, only 1 earned run. So this series was completely about the pitchers. Fortunately for us, 2 of those were Marlins pitchers. From all of us at Down the Right Field Line with Marlins Nation, thank you for watching. But make sure to check out our random video of the week, which we like to call the Mega Freak Out.
Later.